The Ekumeku Resistance, a story of courage and defiance. The Ekumeku Resistance narrates the courageous fight of the Igbo people against British colonial invasion in Nigeria during the late 19th century, showcasing their strategic guerrilla warfare tactics, resilience in the face of brutal oppression, and lasting legacy for future nationalist movements. There are numerous stories of Africans resisting the invasion of their land by British colonialists. This stunning and brave effort is known in history as the Ekumeku Resistance. It is a story of resistance, of unwillingness to surrender to colonialism, a story of men who became warriors to defend their land against foreign invaders. This is the story of Ekumeku Resistance. In the late 19th century, as the British expanded their empire, the Igbo people of Anioma rose in defiance, starting the beginning a 30-year guerrilla war that shook British colonial rule in Nigeria. This was at a time British colonialism had conquered many of the areas now known as Nigeria to almost a perfect. Therefore, rising against an established power, a power ready to consume everything to satisfy the thirst of British imperialism, was a show of bravery. By the 1880s, the British had their eyes set on Anioma Igbo land, a region rich in palm oil, a key commodity for European industries. Through the Royal Niger Company, the British imposed unfair trade policies, heavy taxes, and attempted to exert control over local governance. But the Igbo people, fiercely independent, refused to surrender their land and freedom. In response to the British, a secret society known as the Ekumeku was formed, consisting majorly of peasant farmers, but with a heart strong like warriors determined to save their land from invasion. They were not just warriors but strategists, bound by oaths to defend their land at all costs. Their resistance would last for over 3 decades, making them one of the most formidable anti-colonial forces in West African history. The Ekumeku waged war using guerrilla tactics, striking British outposts, ambushing trade convoys, and disappearing into the thick forest. Between 1883 and 1890, their relentless attacks slowed British expansion. The guerrilla tactics is a tactic often used by non-state actors against a superior state force, just as we have seen with the Vietnam War, the Chinese resistance against Japanese aggression, and many more in history. The resistance of the Ekumeku warriors frustrated the British and they responded with brutal force. Villages were burned, leaders were captured, and warriors were executed. However, the Ekumeku remained steadfast, regrouping after every attack. One of the defining traits of the Ekumeku warriors was their secrecy and discipline. Despite their lack of advanced weaponry, they used the forest to their advantage, launching unexpected strikes and disappearing before the British could retaliate. By the late 1890s, the British intensified their attacks, introducing the deadly Maxim gun, an early machine gun. In 1898, they launched a full-scale invasion of Ogweshuku, a stronghold of the Ekumeku. The battle was fierce, but the British firepower was overwhelming. Despite their losses, the Ekumeku regrouped and continued their resistance into the early 1900s. They adopted more sophisticated strategies, including espionage and intelligence gathering. But by 1914, the British had employed widespread arrests, executions, and scorched earth tactics, ultimately crushing the movement. Though the Ekumeku resistance was eventually suppressed, their spirit of defiance never died. Their struggle laid the foundation for future nationalist movements that would eventually lead to Nigeria's independence in 1960. The Ekumeku warriors symbolize courage, resilience, and the fight for self-determination. Their legacy remains a crucial part of Nigerian and African history. Colonialism might have ended, but Nigeria, nay Africa, is still chained by imperialism. Her resources are still largely controlled by foreign and local profit seekers who continue to do everything to ensure the vast resources serve their interest. Those who want to resist socio-political crisis in Nigeria must learn from the bravery of the Ekumeku warriors. Independent initiatives and actions of a committed few can go a long way in shaping history. Unlike the Ekumeku, we must learn to see our resistance beyond our locality, forge coalition with more change-seeking individuals to ensure more strength for us and we don't get easily isolated. There is the need to also organize around clear political and ideological programs. The Ekumeku were only organized to resist British invasion of their land, without realizing that while that could be a first step, other political programs ought to have been put out and mobilize more people around them. If some of these were done, the Ekumeku resistance would have had better chance of defeating the British invasion. Nevertheless, the Ekumeku resistance showed bravery, which indicated that the united action of people, even a few, can challenge oppression and leave a legacy for others to follow. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe for more African history stories on Untold Africa. Let's keep our history alive. Comment below on what other African resistance movements you'd like us to cover next.